Now let's cast our minds back to 2004 when I was in the cinema watching National Treasure, starring a one Nicolas Cage and Christopher Plummer, the late great CP himself. And it's directed by John Turteltaub, if I'm correct, and starred other people like John Voight, very based American for you there, Harvey Keitel, Justin Bartha, and a one Diane Kruger. Oh my god, that woman still looks like a fine wine, even to this day. You remember the opening scene where the late great Christopher Plummer is sat down with his grandson and telling him about the story of Charles Carroll, a man who was on his way to see Thomas Jefferson to have the American Declaration of Independence signed, and then things fell foul of that because the president wasn't around at the time. This isn't that film I'm talking about. Nope, I am talking about National Treasure, Edge of History on Disney Plus right now. And it's all about our favorite female adventuress called Jessita Valenzuela. Do you get it? Because there's a former rich country called Venezuela, but they've taken that and they've called her Valenzuela.
Excuse me, but you can't be in here. This is the men's room.
Well, excuse me for not being beholden to binary systems of oppression.
The women's room is just down the hall.
You don't want to give me...
Well, space fans, exciting news, huh? And there's even more in part 2.
Hello, this is your television speaking.
Let's push the button marked idiot and see what comes out.
And what is her goal in life? To become an American citizen. She works for a storage depot facility, okay? And in her she's like a Nancy Drew. She wants to be an FBI agent. She has got the powers of observation. Now, Hollywood, I've got a message for you. If you want to tokenize a character like Jessita, try and be original about it, because the minute I saw her power set, by the way, she can look at graphics on a blackboard and she can tell you how many years and months that equates to. That's one of her power sets. But there is a series called Psych, starring James Roday and Dulé Hill, which began, I think, in 2006. And Roday played the character of Sean Spencer, who could look and observe situations and tell you what the outcome was and what it's going to be and what preceded those course of events.
Besides, where in the world is he gonna come up with 250 grand within the next 6 hours?
Guess.
And she's got the same power set here. I just sat there thinking, oh my god, Hollywood is just recycling garbage after garbage. They're just resurrecting a franchise that didn't need resurrecting, because we had two good films with Nicolas Cage, and now we've got, I don't know, what do we call this? National Treasure, annoying women of color who help each other out because men, as usual, are bad. Now take, for example, Jake Austin Walker, who plays the grandson of Harvey Keitel's character in this series. And I like Mr. Walker. He played Seth Geary in The Walking Dead. He's a fantastic dude. I just remembered what I just said there. Mr. Walker in The Walking Dead. Okay, well, I've got to leave it in now. And he hates his grandfather with a passion, and that's another thing now. If Hollywood decides now that sons hate their fathers and vice versa, we've now got to be Disney, and we've got to make sure that grandsons hate their grandfathers in the process as well, because it's all about the women in the show, and trust me, it is. It's not a sweeping statement. It becomes abundantly clear that even though they are trying to entice both sexes, because again, it's two biologies, folks, to watch this TV series, it is very pro-feminist. In fact, it gets to the point in the show where they beat you over the head with the feminist broomstick. And you know what? Speaking of broomsticks, as it's Halloween next year, ladies, take your feminist broomstick, take a ride, just maybe go out onto the Atlantic Ocean, dive headfirst and never resurface. You'll be doing us all a favor with that stupid ideology. And there is a very cringe scene actually regarding that, where they talk about Abigail Adams. She was the first feminist, and guess what? Her husband didn't push for the vote of women, and you can guess the punchline that came after that. I was rolling about in hysterics.
She was one of America's first feminists. She tried to get her husband to make sure women got the right to vote, but he didn't. Typical patriarchy.
Now, I am halfway through this review, and you're probably saying to yourself, Jace, this is a National Treasure show. What's the national treasure in question? And when we catch the opening salvo, as narrated by Harvey Keitel, by the way, I gotta talk about Harvey. I don't know if the dude is feeling that well, because when he's delivering his lines, it's almost like he's going into auto cue mode. It's really sad. A great actor like Mr. Keitel, you know, in the NC-17 Abel Ferrara's Bad Lieutenant, which I cannot wait to watch later. Of course, he was in the original film playing Sudowski, so he does come back as maybe not that character, somebody else, and it's just really bad. It's also really sad as well that premier actors like him are now recruited into Disney fare, because I think Disney and Marvel, to a lesser degree, have made the marketplace for acting. They've narrowed down the acting that, you know, if you want to get certain jobs now, it seems the only place you can go to is a Disney Marvel production. The Entourage TV series with Jeremy Piven, I do believe that was trying to warn us even back then, but wait until I get into the rest of this review, folks, because I've just watched 2 episodes of Edge of History, and it is utterly boring beyond belief. The only good thing I will say about this show is that it is shot in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and honestly, some of the locations they have filmed in look really beautiful. Actually, there are a couple of locations where they seem to have filmed outside. I am surprised. But Jessita Valenzuela, that never gets boring saying that over and over again, she's just a powerful, enriched woman. She's got the power set. There's a scene where she's in a bus with her friend Tasha, and I'll get to her in a minute, trust me I will. She's got a mobile phone up, and like in a few seconds, she can tell you she's been tailed by 2 federal agents. Federal agents who bear a striking resemblance to Agents Mulder and Scully. And I tell you what, the Dana Scully reject they have here is so masculine beyond belief. You're insulting Gillian Anderson.
How'd Mr. Sadusky die?
In his sleep.
One of my favorite FBI agents of all time. Actually, she is my favorite FBI agent of all time. I've got the FHM magazine to prove it. Hello. But they're being tailed by this bus, and then of course the poor male bus driver has to stop because it's against regulations to stop a bus midway if you're being pursued by somebody, because Tasha, her best black friend, is feeling sick and needs to come off the bus. Now, Tasha, I told you I would come back to her. There is a scene in a men's bathroom where she confronts a white male security officer, and she goes into a spiel about non-binarisms. Non-binary, whatever you want to call it, and implying that he's not letting her, a biological female, use a biological men's bathroom because he's prejudiced. That's the basic gist of that scene.
Oh, so since it wasn't your decision, you just get to ignore how gender stereotypes keeps our society locked in a cycle of patriarchal advantages?
First of all, Disney, this is a national treasure show. I don't want to see a show about national identity politics. I get what Disney are doing here. They want to make this show so fresh and relevant. They want you to forget about the 2004 movie, which also starred Sean Bean, amongst others, you know, a based white male, because this is your new national treasure show going forwards, folk. And it's National Treasure, The Edge of History, because it sounds like The Edge of Darkness or The Edge of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt. Thank God she hasn't popped up in his diatribe of his TV show. Is so rammed with diversity that if you try to escape from an escape room like our 4 nameless protagonists do at the beginning, you've got an Oriental folk, you've got a white dude, you've got the black girl, Tasha, and then you've got Miss Vela Consuelo Valenzuela here, Jessie Ventura, as I'm going to call her from now on, well, only for this moment in time. And then, just to top it off, about male masculinity being erased, even by name. There's a pet iguana that is called, wait for it, are you ready for this? Buffy. Buffy the Vampire Slayer is now an iguana. You can't have a male iguana like Sarah Connor did in Terminator 1 called, what was his name again? Pugsley! So this is what we're left with, folks. We are left with this. Also, the new FBI agent, I think her name is Agent Rose. She's very good looking. She meets our female protagonists because, again, men can't step in to help you. It's got to be the female protagonists. And they tell her a plot of a kidnapping, buried treasure. But of course, Miss Oopsie Doopsie, Miss Rose, she stands there looking really forlorn and cross-eyed and like, are you guys hazing me? Are my male colleagues just hazing me because you two walked in and you girls are so adorable. Just stop it right now. Pardon the phrase, there's just no agency, ironically, to her character. It's to the point where I just have to laugh. It's just shooting itself in both feet. And Catherine Zeta-Jones is a little beacon of light, even though this is Catherine Zeta-Jones 2022 with the old facial reconstruction. She's talking like that now, so it's kind of hard for her to deliver her lines effectively. I mean, you could have got Elizabeth Hurley. I think she would have been a better choice of villainess for that particular role. Again, if you want to see Catherine Zeta-Jones at her peak, watch anything with her from the 90s, because that is perfection personified right there. So National Treasure, National Enchilada, I don't know what I want to call this show, is absolutely terrible. It's another product of Disney that, again, if you want to check out the Rotten Tomato ratings, I'll slap them on right here for you to have a gawp at. It's not encouraging. Why should it be? Look at IMDb, 4.7 out of 10, based on 3,000 reactions. What is that telling you, folks? Nobody's interested. When National Treasure came out in 2004, I remember seeing that at the IMAX or at the Odeon, and people thought, that was an average caper. This is on the heels of Tomb Raider, before the first Uncharted game came out 2 years later. Now, that National Treasure film is almost a fucking Shakespeare masterpiece. Honestly, it is. Nicolas Cage is great in that film. He has some very somber moments in there, which I loved.
But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism.
And now we have National Treasure, Edge of History, Jessita Valenzuela, who wants to get an American citizenship card so she can become an FBI agent. I shit you not. This is the state of decay in today's TV. So folks, if you enjoyed this video today, make sure you leave a like below. Make sure you slap that subscribe button like you're one of the writers of this atrocity they call National Treasure, Edge of History. And by the way, I can tell you who that is. It's Cormac Wibbly. He's the husband of Marianne Wibbly, and Cormac has seen better days in the office, I have to say. And if you look at his track record, Charlie's Angels, Full Throttle, I Spy. But if you got that pedigree to your resume, Mr. Cormac, I have to say, it's not a good reputation to live by. So if I were you, and if you were me, maybe go outside and look for some local buried treasure in England. Make sure you don't declare it, because Prince Charles will get his greedy little swiney hands on it and say that it's his money. And I will see you on the next video. President, I think it was Jefferson, to sign the American... I was going so well. Oh God, let's do that again. Well, if you got that pedigree of writing to your resume, but if you got that pedigree, I might just tap out by this point. I don't think I can I don't think I can grin and bear it anymore. Hello. If you enjoy this video today, you've only got 30 seconds to comply before everything goes tickety boom boom. And speaking of boom boom, Haley Atwell, will you protect me from the explosion from your lovely heavenly boobies? I certainly hope so. Jeremy, you want to join me? There's room for one more, you know.